The U.S. national parks are just incredible places. And I've been thinking about them a lot recently, and I kind of wanted to share some of those thoughts with you. Hello, everyone. I'm Aaron, a birding naturalist. Let's chat about the U.S. national parks. The famous nature writer, Wallace Stegner, once said that, quote, "National parks are the best idea we ever had. Absolutely American, absolutely democratic. They reflect us at our best rather than our worst." End quote. I think he was really onto something there. In the US, national parks are overseen by a group called the National Park Service, which is housed within the US Department of the Interior. I'll give you the full text of their mission statement here, but basically it's to preserve unimpaired the natural and cultural resources of our country for preservation, for education, and for historical reasons. It's a wide, sweeping mandate. They have a really broad mission, and they have a lot of places to do it. The very first national park, which was Yellowstone, by the way, was founded in 1872. The National Park Service wasn't actually founded until a couple decades later in 1916. But the National Park Service currently, as it has grown and expanded, now employs over 20,000 employees at 63 national parks and many, many other national monuments and national historic sites in all 50 states all across the country. My family and I just recently returned from a road trip where we visited 6 national parks, the only one in Nevada and all 5 in Utah. Hence my wearing of my Utah National Parks shirt in tribute. And the visit and seeing these various parks, it really drove home in many ways just how special a place these places are. They're there to preserve natural resources, historic resources, the nature and history of our country. And they're enjoyed by millions of people. 331 million people visited the national parks in 2024. So, the most recent year that we have a complete data set for. And that number is continuing to grow over the years. They're incredibly popular. They bring in people from around the world to see our national treasures. And there's good reason for this, because the national treasures that our national parks contain are really spectacular. Coast to coast, they showcase all of the natural wonders and the history that this country has to offer, which is immense. However, unfortunately, our national parks are really under attack right now. The Trump administration has fired over 1,000 national park employees with announcements that there are more to come in the future. This impacts the functioning of our parks. It impacts the safety of our parks. It impacts really everything about our parks. Not having people there to take care of our parks, to educate the public, us, about our parks. It's a real deficit that we are now all facing. Also, there's nobody there to collect things like entrance fees or make sales at visitor centers. And so they're losing money because of this. Also, those numbers, another way that the National Park Service is under attack, those numbers on visitation, the 331 million, the Trump administration announced through a memo to the National Park Service that they were not supposed to announce or publicize visitation numbers in press releases or sort of official statements. Yes, the numbers exist, and if ever requested, of course, they'd have to give those numbers up, but they aren't going to publicize them themselves. Almost making it seem like visitation isn't important, or maybe wanting to seem like people don't really go to these places. The firing of all those staff means that if you go to these places, maybe they're a little bit more run down. Maybe trash isn't being cleaned up as fast. Maybe toilets aren't being serviced as quickly. This is all a sort of concerted effort to make the national park system and our national parks kind of seem more broken. And if things are more broken, well, one, they're easier to get rid of. And two, it's easier to come in and have somebody say, oh, I have the solution, even if they're the ones who broke it. And they're also being used as sort of a propaganda arm. When I was in Capitol Reef National Park, and I've seen this at other national parks as well, I found this little memo here. This is an excerpt from an executive order from the Trump administration via the Department of the Interior and Secretary Burgum. And it calls on us, we the people, to report if we see anything that reflects negatively on any American, past or present, or doesn't build up the grandeur of the US. The problem with that is that that is not how you reflect history. History is messy. History has some good things and some bad things. Every country in the world has done some good things and some bad things. People, we do good things, we do bad things. It behooves us to represent accurately those things, that spread of things, the good and the bad, so that we can celebrate and treasure the good and learn from and not repeat the bad. If you just have the good and you take away the bad, that is no longer history, that is propaganda. And that is a very different story. It's whitewashing history. It's obviously lying by omission at best. And I think it's an outrage. I think it's an outrage that the National Park Service is doing this and that Secretary Burgum is calling on this to be done. I think it's an outrage that we are being sort of deputized into being part of this, almost like we're informants on each other. I think that it is a bit of a cowardly act on the leadership's part, because this gives them a screen to say, oh, it's not us, we're not doing this. People have told us these things that they're seeing in parks, and then we're just fixing. We're listening to the voice of the people. And I think if you're a leader, if you want something done, you should at least stand up and say that you want it done and not try to hide behind other excuses and reasons. And of course, I think it is most outrageous because it is going to deliberately and strategically remove references to Native Americans, which are a very important part of our country's history, to contributions by women and minorities that are also vitally important parts of our country. It's not only a distortion of history, but it's a very particular white nationalist kind of distortion of history that I find very disturbing, very distasteful. And it really is just so sad to see these attacks on our national parks, because our national parks are spectacular. The ones I visited on this trip with my family were Great Basin National Park in Nevada, and then Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon National Park, Capitol Reef National Park, Canyonlands National Park, and Arches National Park, all 5 of those in Utah. The differences between these parks, the nuances, the breathtaking vistas, the spectacular ranges of habitats and biodiversity that they had, the incredible cultures, some of them fairly recent, European settlers settling some of these places, some of them very, very old, tens of thousands of years old, of native peoples living in these areas. All of it incredible to learn about, wonderful to be able to see, really almost magical to be able to experience. And they're so treasured by so many people. My kid and I were remarking several times as we were on the trail on how many different languages we were hearing pass by us. It's really a system. The national park system is a set of places that bring people together from all around the world and from all around our country to experience these incredible places of nature and to lift them up, to make them as wonderful as they possibly can, only makes sense to me. I definitely think that they should be protected. I think selling off these places, privatizing them in any way, is going to be a disaster. I think they should be maintained, fully funded, fully staffed. And I encourage you to please write your congressman, make your voices heard, protect our parks. I hope you get to go out and enjoy a national park of some type in the near future. Thank you very much for the view of this video. And until next time, enjoy the natural world.